Welcome to Codex, a history of video games. My name is Mike Coletta.
And I'm Tyler Osby.
And today we're going to talk about some notable PSP games. Tyler, let's get into it.
Yeah, so we kind of, there's no real method to the madness of what we chose here. We kind of browsed some Metacritic, see what was the top games. I have a few personal favorites because I played a lot of PSP games back in the day. So we're just going to talk about a bunch of sort of random PSP games, and that's going to be great fun. So I do want to note at the start of this that most of these games you can play on a PS Vita. Some of them are available straight up. You just purchase them from the PlayStation Store, and they'll just play on your Vita, no problem. Others will require a little bit of finessing of your Vita's firmware if you need to do some hacking, stuff like that. But you can make pretty much any PSP game play on a Vita, which is pretty sweet. Also, there's a great emulator for computers called PPSSPP that will play a lot of PSP games. Of course, you do need to legally own anything that you're playing, whether it's on your PS Vita or on an emulator.
Obviously.
I trust we all own the games we play on these things, but I just feel like it needs to be said. So let's jump right into it. The first couple of games, I kind of want to group them together. I want to talk about are the God of War games on the PSP, Chains of Olympus and Ghost of Sparta. They're pretty neat. They play like standard God of War games, and they were generally well received. I haven't played them myself, but I watched some videos of them, and they look like pretty cool God of War games. I think this is a real example of like the PSP showing off that it truly was like console quality games in your hands, because the God of War games look great, they play great, and they were even remade for the PS3 in a duo pack called God of War Origins. So
That's
I think
really
they're
cool
both
of them to do
prequels
that.
to the original God of War. That's why they're called God of War Origins.
I really like that they did that. They're like, we made these cool games for PSP. Let's throw them on a PlayStation 3, you know?
Yeah, that's that's another example of like all of these console quality games being made. The developers would look at them and go, you know what? This is a game like people will play this on their PS3, or they'll play it on their PS2, or they'll play it on their console on their TV. Why don't we just sell it twice and people will buy them like me?
Do you know? Do they actually have like updated graphics and stuff for them? Because you can probably get better graphics obviously on a PS3 than a PSP. So did they upgrade them HD or anything like that?
Yeah, they run them in HD resolution. It depends on the game when they're being ported, if they make like large efforts to like make it look better. But most of the time there's an up-res, which tends to make a game look pretty good regardless. Like if you've ever watched gameplay footage or played your PSP on a TV screen, you know that it blown up, it's a little low res, doesn't look super great. So playing those games on PS3 usually smooths that out a little bit.
Yeah, make that look good.
Yeah. Next game we talked about when we talked about DS games, Grand Theft Auto Chinatown Wars. This one is basically the same thing as the DS version, only it's not cell shaded, so it's a little bit more realistic in the graphics, but it's basically the same game, kind of top-down perspective. Has that same cool Chinatown Wars storyline that people really liked. So, yeah.
Yeah, I need to play these. I never played any of the other Grand Theft Autos that weren't like main platform titles, you know?
Yeah, I think Chinatown Wars is the one that's super worth playing. They also released Liberty City Stories and Vice City Stories on PSP. So we'll just jump right into those, I guess. Those are like standard Grand Theft Auto games. They even use the same map from the PS2 games. So Liberty City Stories is basically Grand Theft Auto 3, but with a different storyline. You're not playing as Claude or Tommy Vercetti. You play as different people. I can't remember exactly who they are, but they play exactly really like cool standard Grand Theft Auto games. Yeah, it's really, really cool. What's funny is, so Liberty City Stories is a prequel to Grand Theft Auto 3. So, but what you can do in Liberty City Stories is you can ride a motorcycle. And if you remember, the original Grand Theft Auto 3 did not have motorcycles in it, just because it just didn't have motorcycles. They added those in Vice City, but the way they got around this, I think, I'm kind of remembering this on top of my head, so maybe I'm totally making this up, but the way they got around this, like lore-wise, was they were like, oh, in Liberty City Stories, motorcycles were legal, and then during the time of Grand Theft Auto 3 in the like late 90s, early 2000s, they had made motorcycles illegal. And then by the time Grand Theft Auto 4 came out in Liberty City again, they're like, oh, motorcycles are legal again. So it's not that they didn't have motorcycles in Grand Theft Auto 3. It's just that they were illegal. And as we all know,
right.
The laws stop you from doing things in Grand Theft Auto games, for sure.
Obviously. Also,
we always
appreciate
follow
it.
the laws.
appreciate that they're like, we got to make this canon. We got to figure out a way to make it so it makes sense.
Motorcycles are outlawed. Vice City Stories is similar too. I think it's also a prequel. Takes place in Vice City, same map as the Vice City from PS2. So they're really cool. Both of those games came out on PS2 a little while later, and are totally worth playing for that reason. So yeah, check it out.
There's never really been a bad Grand Theft Auto game, I guess you could argue, right? Yeah.
No.
The only one I kind of stopped playing was 4 when I started having to go on dates. I was just kind of like, I got other stuff to do.
Yeah,
4 turned it off.
4 had checkpoint problems in my experience. Like I remember there was one mission called, I think it was called like Snow, like Blizzard or Snow something. Anyway, it had something to do with getting cocaine, so that's why it was called that. But it was so long and so hard that's like when you died, you had to start over like half an hour earlier, and I was like, I can't keep doing this because I would get a ways into the mission and then die at the same spot every time trying to beat the shootout part, and it's just like, oh, geez, terrible. So
yeah, get it together. With your cocaine missions, Grand Theft Auto. Oh, man, speaking of snow, isn't this a snow game, the next one? Wipeout Pure?
I don't think so, no.
What was Wipeout? I assume, is it like a surfing, wakeboarding thing?
No, it's like a hovercraft. It's almost like an F-Zero kind of thing.
Really? Wow. Title. I thought I could gather it from the title. I definitely didn't. I failed.
Yeah, it's basically, it's like F-Zero, like future F-Zero. So anyway, Wipeout Pure was a launch title for the PSP, which is pretty neat. The notable thing about it, other than it being a generally fun game, it also had downloadable content for it, which I think was pretty unique, especially for handhelds. It was unique for games in 2005 in general, or at least still new, but unique to handheld games for sure. But the cool thing about this game was it had there were ways to exploit it to do the first mods for the PSP. So when the homebrew scene was first getting active, it was Wipeout Pure that did it. I think it's because the game has a built-in web browser at some point, and if you do some network shenanigans on your network, you can point it to a different. You can point it to run files. Actually, I think to run code that's on the memory stick. So you would like open up you would load your homebrew whatever on the memory stick, and you'd load up Wipeout Pure, and you would like use the web browser to navigate basically to the file on the memory stick, and it would just load and run. And Sony patched it pretty quickly, but that was how the scene got started. That was the first way to load homebrew.
For a second there,
PSP.
you felt truly free for 1 second.
You were very alive.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. But it's similar to other Wipeout games. I think it's a series, I believe, that got started on the original PlayStation, which is pretty cool. It's the 6th game in the Wipeout series. So they've been running Wipeout games for a long time at this point. But it's cool. It was for a while, had a little bit of a premium on it because people were buying it to do soft mods.
That's cool. I like it when a game has value because of a really weird illegal reason. That's always fun, for everybody involved.
Hey, running unsigned code is not illegal. It's only illegal if you're using it to pirate games.
That's true. You know what? You're right. Okay, I'm wrong. King of the law. Tyler Osby is correct.
And we always follow the law in Grand Theft Auto.
That's right. We always follow the law in Grand Theft Auto. Now, the next game is right up your alley, though. This is all you.
Yeah, Final Fantasy Tactics: The War of the Lions. Now, for as big a Final Fantasy fan as I am, the Tactics games never really grabbed me. I do have some friends that are like, these are their favorite games ever. But Final Fantasy Tactics: The War of the Lions is a remake, like a full remake of the original PlayStation game, which is different from Final Fantasy Tactics Advance, which was a similar game, like it used all the same systems as the original Tactics, but Final Fantasy Tactics Advance was a separate storyline with separate characters, all kinds of different things about it. So War of the Lions is a proper remake, and it's like they upgraded the graphics, they added some cutscenes, like it's pretty nifty. It's probably the best way to play that game. It did also come out on iOS, so like iPad and iPhone, and maybe on Android also. So that might be the true best way to play it. But the War of the Lions is a really, really good way to play Final Fantasy Tactics.
Can I ask you a silly question, Tyler?
Sure.
What makes Tactics different than just Final Fantasy? Is it like a different gameplay style or something? Or
Yeah, so traditional Final Fantasy is like turn-based like Pokemon, where you like choose your attack and you attack the thing, and you kind of take turns doing that. In a tactics game, you do you have like a map, like a game board basically, and you have all your characters that are in your party, and you move your characters around the map to like try to get strategic positions to do attacks on the enemies. So there's a bit more strategy and tactics, obviously, because your positioning matters a lot based on like where you are affects who you can cast spells on or who you can attack and things like that. And if you have like high ground, you can do more damage and stuff. So if you've ever played like XCOM or the more recent and one of my favorites, Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle, it's that style of game.
Oh, okay. I see what you mean.
So it's almost like chess, but with fantasy, like magic
but with
and
chocobo.
Final Fantasy stuff. But it's chess, but with chocobos.
Chess, but with chocobo. I love it. The next two games are Tekken, Dark Resurrection, and Ridge Racer. So Tekken is a fighting game, and Ridge Racer is a racing game, and we all know that already. I feel like we can move on from that. Then the game after that, though, and this one is pretty cool. I think it's pronounced Jeanne d'Arc, but it's Joan of Arc, essentially. And it was released on August 21st, 2007, and it's a really cool historical fiction JRPG. So they did something pretty cool.
What's the history?
The history of Joan of Arc, like of the story of the 100 Years' War, France versus England. But this time, there's magic and monsters. So the cast is actually like very much the people around in that time period, which I thought was really cool. But then they add a bunch of crazy stuff. Like an example that was pretty notable was the English King Henry VI was definitely possessed by demons, and that's why they were so good at defeating the French, I guess. But it seems like a really cool idea for a game, and like a game idea they could have gone on with other like historical things and altered them, which I guess they kind of did if you look at like Assassin's Creed games, you know? Like Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Doesn't Assassin's Creed Odyssey have like the mythological creatures in it and magic and stuff like that?
I think so. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
I haven't played any of the newer
I haven't played it either, but I have a buddy, like one of my best friends, and every time I log into Xbox, he's always playing it, and I'm like, I need to get this game, I think.
It's a long game, and I think it has content that just keeps you rolling for a long time.
Keeps you rolling. Also, I love Skyrim, and that's what I've been doing right now. So that's Jeanne d'Arc. I think that's how you say it, because it's Jeanne. Do we have any French-speaking listeners that could send me an audio file of how you pronounce that name? I will play it on the podcast if you do that.
Let's see if I can find a pronunciation. We can hear me furiously typing. Jeanne d'Arc, how to pronounce native French speaker. Oh, here's a YouTube video for it.
Ooh.
Jeanne d'Arc.
Ooh, I like that. Jeanne d'Arc. Like dark?
Yeah.
Ooh, I like it. That's good.
According to this YouTube video by
You know,
Panda Speaks French. That's all right.
very believable. I only listen to pandas that speak French. That's the only way I've learned. It's the Rosetta Stone of the modern era. Also, if it's on the internet, it must be true. But yeah,
that's fact.
It's true. It's a total fact. But yeah, it's a cool idea for a game, and I hope they do something like that in the future. I think it's really neat that you could do historical fiction in video games. The next game is called Tactics Ogre, Let Us Cling Together. Now this, I think, is a lot like Final Fantasy Tactics. It's a strategy tactical RPG where you're like in squads and it's turn-based and there's grid movements and you're moving around those. And what this reminded me of is I had a game for Game Boy Color that was Heroes of Might and Magic. I don't know the number. I want to say it was 3. And you would have these like armies and you'd be on a grid and you'd like win big battles that way. But this game is a lot like that, where you have a kingdom and you build up guys and resources essentially to build your army and go out and take over places. And if I owned a PSP, I think I would have really dug this game. That's what I'm gathering from it. It was released on February 14th, 2011, so kind of near the end of the life cycle of the PSP as well.
This one was right up your alley?
This one was right up my alley. Also, Tactics Ogre, this game I believe is the 7th in the series.
Wow, that's a lot of Tactics Ogre games.
For never hearing of this until today, I was surprised that this is the 7th in the series. The game after that, though, I have heard of this series because I think I had a demo disc for PlayStation that had the first game of this on there, Siphon Filter Dark Mirror. And this was released on March 14th, 2006. So this version of Siphon Filter actually took the series back to its roots, where it was very linear, because the ones before this that came out on PlayStation were very open world. And Siphon Filter Dark Mirror is like, no, we're going back to the old way. And so the game itself was really linear and focused on like different weapon types. But what was cool about Dark Mirror is there was online multiplayer, 8 people playing against each other, and you could chat on a headset. So you could play this game online with a headset on your PSP. I just thought that was really cool. Yeah, and
it's very cool.
It's a third-person shooter. Came out March 14, 2006, so it's kind of early in the life cycle of the PSP, right? That's like the first 2 years. March 14, 2006, and then you could use a headset. That's crazy. Really fun. The games after that, Little Big Planet, which we've talked a lot about in our PlayStation episodes. So, hey, it's Little Big Planet on your PlayStation.
The PSP version is basically exactly the same. They don't have the co-op that the PS3 version has, I think. But otherwise, it's the same game. You just Little Big Planet. You'll love it.
Yeah. So, all right. And then the next game, do you know about Patapon?
Patapon. I played a little bit of Patapon. It's a very cute rhythm game where you play with little guys and they say Patapon, and it's really cute. If you like rhythm games and you like cuteness, play Patapon.
Yeah, that's a good sell. I appreciate that. Solid sell.
I don't have more than that to say about it, really.
I think there's nothing else more to say. It's cute and it's a rhythm game, and if you like cute rhythm games, then you should buy Patapon. Drop whatever you're doing right now. If you're driving, pull over. Get on your phone.
That's right.
Go on Amazon. One click. Buy Patapon.
Yep.
Nailed it. Next game
on the list. Daxter for PSP. Now, I don't know how big of a fan of the Jak and Daxter series you are, Mike. Have you played? Are you familiar?
I wasn't really a Sony kid. I dropped out of Sony around the PlayStation 2, and we never had these games. And I feel like a real noob
you did not.
now.
So I'll set a little bit of a backstory here. So in Jak 1, you are Jak. He's a silent protagonist, and his goofy buddy Daxter so follows him around and has all the quips and the funniness, right? You do some platforming, you save the world, whatever. Between Jak 1 and Jak 2, Jak gets captured by bad guys and taken away to a place that is not in the first Jak and Daxter game. And in the beginning of Jak 2, Daxter busts him out of this prison, and now Jak can talk, and he's super mad because I guess he's been experimented on, so he's got these superpowers, and he can also, that made him not be mute. So he's super mad, and so that's the story of Jak 2. Let's go get revenge. But between Jak 1 and 2, there's a game called Daxter. And Daxter has to bust Jak out of his prison, and so that's what Daxter's all about. It's more standard like Jak and Daxter platforming, but it's like smaller because Daxter's a small, he's called an otzel, which is a combination of an otter and a weasel.
That's pretty adorable if you ask me.
Yeah. So he has to bust Jak out. Anyway, this is the story of him busting Jak out of prison. So it's right between Jak 1 and Jak 2. Those are worth playing, by the way. If you've never played Jak and Daxter game, highly recommend. They are all awesome. Jak 2 is harder than it should be, but
are those on the PlayStation
fun.
Store? Could I play those if I have a PlayStation and buy them online and download them on the internet?
I believe so. The first one is for sure on PlayStation 4. I don't know about the second and third, but I know that the trilogy pack for PS3 is available. It has all 3.
Oh, nice. Are they making
Daxter,
new ones of
though,
these?
No, they're not. They did make a 4th one, which we'll talk about in a little bit because it is also a PSP game. But Daxter, I don't think ever got any ports to any other systems.
Oh, it's a one and doneer. Maybe you can play it on Vita, though, right? It might be on Vita?
You can play it on Vita. Yeah, according
nice.
to Wikipedia here, Daxter was only on the PlayStation Portable.
Well, I should have actually... The next game I should have done right after I did the first Siphon Filter, but this one's called Logan's Shadow, and it was on October 2nd, 2007 is when it was released. So it's after the one I mentioned before, Dark Mirror. And this one, it seems like they're kind of going for more stealth squad tactics in the third-person shooter genre. There's new weapons and stuff, but there's also a lot of new gameplay mechanics that are kind of focused on like making tactical decisions. So some of them are like they changed the cover system so you could move from side to side, or you could lean around a corner, or you can like blind fire, or you just stick your gun out and stuff like that, and then just shoot and hope you hit something. That's always a fun one. But there was something called an advanced melee system, and that made it so you could like use enemies as human shields, which I think is kind of nuts. Like you could hold them up, and they could take the damage for you. But they
like
also,
CQC in Metal Gear Solid games.
Yeah, like that. Siphon Filter might just be like a competitor to Metal Gear Solid, huh? Because it's definitely stealth based. It's just
that's a good question. I don't know. I don't have too much experience with the siphon filter.
I wonder if they just have not as interesting a story as Metal Gear Solid, and that's probably what's going on. But they also had you could do squad commands to other characters. You could be like, hey, you go over here, or you go over here. And here's the big one that I think makes it so I want to play this game: underwater combat. What? You got a spear gun? What are we? 007? What's happening right now? This is amazing. I want to play this game.
Big fan of underwater combat?
I am. There's not a lot of underwater combat games out there, you know? I want to fire a spear gun at an enemy, you know? That could be a great level in a Wolfenstein game, like underwater Nazis, spear gun them. Oh, man. Just brainstorming here. Just spitballing. We're feeling good.
You can have that one for free, Bethesda.
Yeah, you hear that, Bethesda? You take that in the next Wolfenstein game. You give me an underwater Nazi to shoot with a spear gun. I'll give high fives to everyone on your staff. That's all. Oh, and my money. I'll give you money too, I guess.
I'll buy the game. I will buy the game.
Purchase the game, and if the high fives come up, I'll do it. The other game after this one we have on here is Tetris. In October 1st, 2009. It's Tetris. We've talked about it at length. It's a cool origin story.
Every handheld needs a Tetris game.
Every
PSP is
handheld
no
needs
exception.
a Tetris. That's right. You want to do Half Minute Hero?
Yeah, Half Minute Hero is a really like quirky, sort of fun 8-bit style JRPG game. But the twist is you play through the whole game in 30 seconds. So it's like you get 30-second increments there's some things you can do to like extend the time, but you're never playing for more than a few minutes in a session, like in a mission. There's like 30 missions, I think. And so they all take like a few minutes to do, but it's really fun to like play through over and over again. And there's like a bunch of different gameplay styles. There's like a real-time strategy thing. There's like a standard JRPG. There's some like side-scrolling stuff. But the whole point is to like you get 30 seconds to basically power up before you have to fight the final boss. And every mission starts with some final boss like casting a spell that the world's going to end in 30 seconds. So you have 30 seconds to do it. So it's a fun way to play, especially on mobile where you don't have a lot of time to like sit down and really sink your teeth in. You might just be firing it up for a couple of minutes. You can get a lot of good gameplay out of a couple of minutes with Half Minute Hero. So I think that's really fun. That's
awesome. Is this game on phones? It sounds like it'd be perfect for mobile.
I don't think so. It did get released on Steam and on like Xbox and PlayStation later on. So maybe. But I don't think it's on phones. But it's just fun because you can do a lot in just a couple of minutes. It's really satisfying.
All right, Half Minute Hero, not to be confused with Hand Cramp Hero. This one sounds way better. All right, the next game I have written on here is Space Invaders Extreme. Now,
Extreme!
Why is it extreme? You know, also that was a very good extreme yell, Tyler.
Thank you.
You should be an extreme voiceover actor, but only the word extreme. That's it. June 17th, 2008. This game actually came out on both the DS and the PSP, and both versions are exactly the same, except the PSPs had better graphics because it was a PSP versus a Nintendo DS. So all you graphics snobs
PSP
out
will
there...
always have better graphics.
That's right. And all you graphics snobs out there can come over here and get your PSP and buy Space Invaders Extreme. Now, this game essentially was like normal Space Invaders where you're shooting the cannon at the spaceships as they come down. If you take a hit from one of those on your cannon, you die. Or if they hit the bottom, you die. But if you hit 4 of the same color ships in a row, some crazy stuff happens involving bonus stages. And if you do that bonus stage, you move on to another bonus stage. And you get crazy power-ups like bombs that kill everything on the board. And it's like... it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger as you go. So
wow.
the game actually, if you went to a certain round, it said, at a certain point, you could kind of set it to an easy mode or a hard mode. So if you just wanted to beat it, because I think it was 5 rounds and like 11 stages total or something like that. I'm going off of memory on that one. Hopefully I'm not completely wrong. But the way that if you wanted to be really extreme is you'd play ranked mode, because then you got to put your leaderboard score up there, you know, and show everyone, hey, I'm the most extreme space invader or space defender of the invaders. Probably the
Sounds
second
really
one.
extreme.
It's very extreme. I mean, the only way it could be more as extreme is if you played it while you were on a skateboard. That's the only way this game could be more extreme. So the next game is Loco Roco. Now, if you are into that cute rhythm game we mentioned before, well, Loco Roco is not a rhythm game, but it sure is cute, okay? So you got these fat little jelly birds that if they eat everything around there, which is kind of like that, was it Nico Aksume? Do you know the one I'm talking about where you're like a ball and you roll around stuff?
Katamari Damacy.
Katamari, yeah, Nico Atsume.
Yeah.
Nico Atsume is a cat game for phones that my girlfriend plays. I just realized that. What's the one called? The Katamari, right?
Yeah, Katamari Damacy.
Yeah, that one. It's kind of like that where you're like a bird and you get bigger and bigger as you eat stuff, and the birds actually combine together. But you'll hit a spot where a big bird can't go through, and then you can strike yourself with lightning, and you'll split into little birds again. And the way you get through the level is you rotate the world, which I thought was pretty cool. And all the time that plays, there's some real adorable music going on. So, I mean, I think every person listening to this podcast right now should just pull up a YouTube video of Loco Roco, because that's the best way to find out what it's all about. But it looks really adorable. And it also looks like it would be perfect for cell phones. Like, there's so many of these games where I'm like, this is a cell phone game.
Oh, yeah, especially if
it.
Rotating the world is the thing. You would rotate it your cell phone. Easy.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be so great. And it's like, because all you can do is rotate your phone, rotate the world, or jump. So just tap the screen to jump, or rotate your phone to rotate the world. It's
perfect.
Super easy. And
this game makes
it's
itself.
all there. Yeah, it's all there. And they made it in September 5th, 2006. So they were way ahead of the game. All right, you want to talk about the next game, Tyler?
Yeah, Valkyria Chronicles 2, which I think is interesting because it's a sequel to what was at the time a PlayStation 3 exclusive game called Valkyria Chronicles. It did pretty well on PS3 as far as I know, but the gameplay is like a third-person shooter, but with a more tactical feel, so that's kind of turn-based, but you control your character through like a third-person view, and you set up your shots. So it's another like tactical strategy game, RPG like Final Fantasy or Tactics Ogre, things like that. But it's like takes place in the past. I want to say it's like a World War II thing, or like the time period is similar to that. I don't know if it's like historical fiction or not. I didn't spend a whole lot of time playing this game, but it's very cool. It has a very cool cel shaded art style that like feels like it was like almost like painted on like a quilt, like a quilt
Ooh.
style. I don't know. It's like hard to describe, but it's definitely cel shaded, like with anime like people style, but then there's like this overlay over the top that makes it feel like it's much older and much like cooler. But
I like
the
that.
sequel was made for the PlayStation Portable, and it's basically the same type of gameplay. If you liked it on PS3, you'll like it on PSP. Of course, you get some graphical downgrades and stuff like that, but it's very, very like cool to look at. I think they made a 3 and a 4 that are available on PS4 and PC and stuff. So this is a worthwhile series to check out. I enjoyed my time with it when I played it briefly, like a long time ago, but it's pretty cool.
It's also made by Sega.
Yeah.
Look at that. Love it. I love it when I get to see Sega. You know, it makes me
too.
happy. All right, the next game, Tony Hawk's Underground 2 Remix. Who doesn't love Tony Hawk? I love Tony Hawk. Tyler, you love Tony Hawk, right?
Sure do. If you like Tony Hawk's Underground, or Tony Hawk's Underground 2, this is the game for you. It's Tony Hawk's Underground 2, but for PSP. It's more or less the same game, but portable. So, like, if you like it, you'll like it on PSP. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah, who doesn't like that, you know? Who doesn't like more Tony Hawk? Seriously. Why don't they have a new Tony Hawk come out now? Is it just like a licensing thing? Because they haven't had one in years, right?
They did. They had Tony Hawk 5, and it was bad.
Oh, maybe that's why. I just blacked it out in my memory.
They did all those like weird peripheral games, Shred and Ride, and like, so they had like, those were weird. And then they were like, okay, let's get back to basics. We'll put out an HD remake of the first 3 Tony Hawk games. And people were like, yeah, that sounds great. And then it came out and it was terrible because like the physics were all wrong. They were like, ah, dang it. All right, cool. Well, we'll make Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5. You guys want that, right? Everybody was like, yeah, that sounds great. I would love Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 5. They made it. It was awful. So,
oh man, that's
same
a
kind
bummer.
of deal. Yeah, big old bummer there. So, but Tony Hawk 5 did have Riley Hawk, which I believe is Tony Hawk's son. So,
hey, that's awesome. Throw him in the game. That's great.
yeah. So anyway, Tony Hawk's Underground 2 Remix is Tony Hawk's Underground 2, but for PSP.
Go get it. All right. I don't mean to go get it. I don't feel like we're salespeople here. You know, we're just going through the games. You know, if you want to.
Do whatever you want. You don't have to buy anything. I mean, if you do buy it, nobody's getting any money for that except for whoever you bought it from. So
that's right.
Go not going to the developers at this point.
Parentheses, if you want to. Close parentheses. That's what it really is.
Yeah.
I don't play any of the next games. I feel like I should.
Monster Hunter Freedom Unite. I don't really play a whole lot of Monster Hunter either, so I will not be able to give this to like the justice that it deserves here. But as far as I know, Monster Hunter Freedom Unite is one of the like very beloved entries in this game, and it even came out later on PlayStation or on iOS and Android too. I don't think it's available on the iOS store anymore because it stopped working and they didn't update it. But this is like kind of the go-to when people say, which Monster Hunter game should I play? Or at least it was until Monster Hunter World came out. I think that's the new like standard. But Monster Hunter Freedom Unite was like, yeah, play that on PSP. Because they're very grindy games. Like the whole point is like, it's just boss fights, like tons of boss fights, but you need to be able to track the monsters. You need to have the right gear and the right weapons to be able to kill the monsters. So it would have a lot of like killing smaller monsters to get the materials you need to get the right weapons and armor to kill the bigger monsters. And so there's a lot of grinding involved in the preparation for the hunt, which is something I couldn't really get into. But I understand that like there's an audience for that, and there are a lot of people that love that. And Monster Hunter Freedom Unite is the game for those folks.
You want to do that on the go? You got it.
That's right.
All right, the next game is Street Fighter Alpha 3 Max. Do you like Street Fighter? Do you like playing Street Fighter maybe while waiting for the bus or sitting on a toilet? Then this game is the game for you.
Yeah, that's really all we can say about it. It's just Street Fighter Alpha 3 Max.
Yep, it's Street Fighter, February 7th, 2006. The next game, though, I just looked up. It's called Test Drive Unlimited. It came out on March 21st, 2007, and this is actually really cool, Tyler. It's a open world car game. So you start the game by buying a car and a house, and then you just explore this island, and you like unlock things as you go. And these include like finding a new car dealership or a bike dealership, because motorcycles are not on. Oh wait, no, actually, wait. Oh no, it says there's no bike dealerships on PlayStation 2 or PSP versions. Oh no. But you could go, because I mean, it's obviously when you were playing that game, they outlawed motorcycles on the island. That's why.
Right. It's the same reason that Liberty
There's
City
people
didn't
outlawing motorcycles in all these video games, and it's really hard. But you can actually rent cars. You can like go to time challenges. You can do like a taxi kind of thing where you're a courier. You can get in the again, like they have hitchhikers, but that's not available in the PSP version. But it looks like a really cool, like early open world game, kind of like what Forza Horizon is doing now.
Oh,
but this game,
I think Burnout Paradise did something like that too.
Yeah, but this game came out in 2000. What was it for? It was for the PSP. It came out in 2007, but it came out on Xbox 360 in 2006. So that's pretty nuts.
That's pretty cool to have like an open world game like that on PSP. Like I'm always amazed at the like the Grand Theft Autos and the stuff like that come out portably. I'm like, man, part of my my video game thought process is like still locked in the 90s, where it's like the handheld version is always an inferior version and you'll always have more fun if you play the console version. And then it was like with the PSP, it was like, oh, now you can play these 3D open world games the same as on your console. You can play them on your PSP. Oh my gosh. That's why the PSP special.
This is nuts. Also, I'm reading more about the game, and this is again not all on the PSP version because it's PSP, but the Xbox version for Xbox 360 featured over 125 licensed sports cars and motorcycles, and the terrain was actually modeled after Oahu in Hawaii. And it featured 1,000 miles of roads and highways to drive on.
Damn.
That's a lot, especially 06. You're doing that in 2006? I was just graduating high school. I had the whole world on my shoulders.
Yeah, on a PlayStation Portable?
Get out of here. Yeah, so I thought it was worth mentioning because most of the time we see a car game and you're like, hey, it's a car game. But this time they actually did some open world cool stuff, which I thought was pretty neat. Then we got Castlevania, the Dracula X Chronicles. It's Castlevania, the game where you fight vampires and stuff. Soul Calibur Broken Destiny, which is just a Soul Calibur game. Those kind of games, they're fighting games. And we don't really talk that much about fighting.
You like this game.
Yeah, we don't really talk about fighting games that much because we don't really play fighting games. So maybe we'll do that when we get to our bigger history and we'll learn about them together as a group. Mm-hmm. The next game after that is Valkyrie Profile, Lenneth. And this came out in July 18, 2006. And it was just a port of the game Valkyrie Profile for PlayStation. It's a JRPG. There's a lot of them on PlayStation. And this is just another one. If you like JRPGs, you're probably going to like this game. on your PlayStation
they kind of gave
Portable.
it the War of the Lions treatment where they sort of upgraded the graphics and stuff like that, but mostly it's the same as Valkyrie Profile for the PlayStation.
Yeah, so, oh, wait. And the final game that I have before we get to Tyler's favorite PSP games, which I know you've all been anxiously awaiting, is a game called Echo Chrome, which came out on May 1st, 2008. Now, this is another one of those games where I feel it's definitely ahead of its time, and it would be perfect on phones now because it was kind of like the game Fez, where you rotated the world. And if you rotated the world, you would have this marionette would like walk across the screen on different shapes and objects. And as you and he would like fall through a hole and then he'd disappear again if he fell through the hole. But then if you rotated the world, it would block the hole from your view and he would just walk around like you didn't even see it, you know? So it's like you rotate the world to solve puzzles. Really interesting concept. It had a sequel, but again, why is this game not on mobile and why is it not a top seller if it is? I don't understand. This is like a perfect mobile game where you just rotate the world with your finger, you know? That would be great. So, yeah, Echo Chrome. It's a great game. Now, Tyler, let's get to your list.
So my list of my favorite PlayStation Portable games, these are in no particular order because I didn't want to order them. But it starts with Metal Gear Solid. Of course, it starts with Metal Gear Solid Portable Ops. Now, this game is technically canon, but it doesn't really do anything in the storyline that doesn't really get explained later, so it's not required play if you're playing through all of your Metal Gear Solid games. But Portable Ops was like a sort of bite-sized version of Metal Gear Solid. The areas were small and self-contained, and the missions usually didn't take longer than a few minutes. And what you would do is you would play Metal Gear Solid, but you could, like, if you knocked people out, you could drag them back to your truck that's always at the beginning of every level. I guess that's how you get to every level is you take a truck there, and you can load them in the truck, and then they join your crew, and you can build your base up with these people that you steal from other bad guys, I guess. Apparently, they just have no problem joining if they wake up in your base. So
that's a very base building is very much I feel like that's now a like mobile genre. So it's kind of cool that they have that as portable. I wonder if this game's on phone. It seems like it might be. It's not? You checked? Because if it was on phone, you would have lost your mind already, huh?
Yes, I would have lost my mind already playing this game. Portable Ops is great. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I was just going to say you would not have done the podcast. You would be playing this game right now as if it was on phone.
Right. I would be playing Portable Ops right now if that was the case. Portable Ops is great. Has classic Metal Gear Solid gameplay with some new twists. I like it a lot, but it's nowhere near as good as Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker. Now, this is the game. This game came out, I want to say 2010, which is after Metal Gear Solid 4, and Kojima himself said that Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker is basically Metal Gear Solid 5. It takes place after Portable Ops. Oh, I should say Portable Ops games take place after Metal Gear Solid 3, which is the earliest Metal Gear Solid game in the timeline. So Metal Gear Solid 3 is the 60s. Portable Ops and Peace Walker are like the 70s. But Peace Walker has a really neat cutscene art style that uses like comic book kind of feel to it. But they improved everything over Portable Ops. Peace Walker has like a really, really legitimately good storyline that'll make you cry at the end. It has the base building stuff that Portable Ops had, but they expanded upon it. It's way easier to recruit people because basically what you do is you knock them out and you attach what's called the Fulton recovery system, which is like a reverse parachute, and you attach it to them and they just fly up in the air. Kind of like if you've played Metal Gear Solid 5, the true Metal Gear Solid 5 that came out a few years ago. It's the same kind of deal, actually. Peace Walker is a huge inspiration for Metal Gear Solid 5 with all of the base building stuff, the researching of equipment to use with that classic Metal Gear Solid stealth gameplay. So if you have not played Peace Walker and you're a Metal Gear Solid fan, you owe it to yourself to play this game. It's so good. It also has a remake on 360 and PlayStation 3, so you don't have to play it on PSP. You can play it on your TV, and it works really well. And all the missions are so short, and they're like broken up really well. So when you get to a boss fight, like the boss fight is the next mission, so you only ever have to play for a few minutes at a time, which makes it really, really good for portable. So highly, highly recommend Peace Walker. Next game on the list, you didn't think you'd get away without a Final Fantasy game. Crisis Core, Final Fantasy VII. It tells the story of Zack Fair, who, so it's a prequel to Final Fantasy VII. And it shows Zack doing his things, being a part of Soldier, going through that whole storyline. He's buddies with Sephiroth. He meets a new recruit along the way named Cloud, who's going to be big in Final Fantasy VII. It's really, really, really good. It has a really cool real-time battle system that feels a little bit more like Kingdom Hearts, although not quite as real-time as Kingdom Hearts is. There's some like queuing up of skills, and they sort of fire off in order. Feels a little bit more like Final Fantasy 13, I guess. But there's like this cool like slot machine mechanic that like the slot machine like goes off in the middle of battles and gives you buffs or whatever. And when it lands on 777, that's when you level up. So I think that's probably not random and is scheduled to happen every so often, but it's really fun. Has a cool, deep materia system for giving you your abilities and stuff like that. And it just has a really great storyline that, like Peace Walker, going to make you cry at the end if you're a Final Fantasy fan and love Cloud Strife. You will learn a lot about Cloud in this game and a lot about, Zack, who is like a character in Final Fantasy VII that people talk about, but he's already dead by the time Final Fantasy VII starts. So spoilers, Zack dies.
Oh man, spoils.
Yeah, but
It's
that
okay.
shouldn't be a spoiler if you played Final Fantasy VII at all, because it's not a secret in that game. So
Yeah, it's not a spoiler in that game. I'll be fine. I'll get over it.
yeah,
I feel like as a video game fan and not really playing Final Fantasy VII yet, it's really greatly impacted me as a video game fan. Like people are like, "Oh, are you really a video game fan if you haven't played Final Fantasy VII?" You know, I get that
You should.
feeling. I
should
should,
play
and it's on
Final Fantasy
Xbox
VII.
One now, so I shouldn't
Yep.
even. It's all my fault. Is what I'm saying.
no excuses.
No excuses. Play like a champion.
It's a great game. It hasn't aged very well. They are remaking Final Fantasy VII, like a full-on remake. So
Oh, they are. Maybe I wait
Yeah.
until it gets all remade and stuff, because it is like
Maybe.
the game of games. Like when everyone says like a game, they're like, "That's it. That's the one
That's
that
the
everyone
one.
loves."
Yeah, it's great. Crisis Core has not been remade at all for any other platforms, so boo, Square Enix, please remake this game because it was awesome. Next game on the list is my personal favorite puzzle game of all time, Luminous. I feel like we talked about this at one point, or maybe we only talked about talking
We've
about it?
mentioned it multiple times, but I don't know if we've really gotten into it. So now let's get into it.
It's like part puzzler, kind of part rhythm game too. So basically, what you do is you control 2x2 stacks of squares of two. There are only ever two colors that they can be. So there's only a few different like permutations. But what you're trying to do is create squares or rectangles, like 2x2 or 2x3, or like basically you're trying to get them all in a square or rectangle formation of the same color. So you're dropping them from the top of the screen, Tetris style, trying to form like squares. And when you form a square, it doesn't go away immediately. There's a bar that moves across the screen, probably once every 10 seconds. It just kind of goes from left to right and then starts over. It probably takes 5 to 10 seconds to go across the screen. So you can really set up these big combos that will be removed once the bar crosses them. And the Luminous games always have great music, and the sounds that it makes when you move the squares around and drop them is always like makes sense for the song that it's in. So you want to like be doing it to the beat because it like just feels good to do it to the beat.
Oh, nice.
It's really, really satisfying. And then as the songs change, the square colors change and the sounds change. So you're always like, you feel like you're playing fresh. Luminous has a bunch of remakes. You can play it on Xbox. I think you can play it on PC, probably PlayStation 3. It did get a sequel on the PSP called Luminous 2, which was basically the same thing, but just more of that. But it's my personal favorite puzzle game. I think it's better even than Tetris. So...
Whoa, big hot take from Tyler Osby right here. Real hot takes.
Yeah. Next on the list, Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep. Got a remake on PS4 last year or a couple years ago. If you like Kingdom Hearts, this is really a full Kingdom Hearts game. You play as it's a prequel, and you play as 3 characters from the game's past that haven't really been talked about until now. Aqua, Terra, and Ventus. And they did something kind of clever, but also a little bit lame in that you play through each of their storylines, and they're probably 10 hours each. But there's a lot of going through the same worlds as a different character. The storyline is different, and they kind of weave in and out of each other, which is really fun. And these characters are really, really important for the new Kingdom Hearts 3. So if you plan on playing Kingdom Hearts 3 and you haven't played Birth by Sleep, it's definitely worth playing. But it's one of those games that feels like a full console game. It has a really cool battle system, an evolution of the classic Kingdom Hearts formula, with just like so much fun and Disney, and like it's great. The worlds are a little bit smaller. When you play it on PS4, you really start to realize like, oh, they made some compromises here on the PSP because the worlds are small and they don't look super great. But it's definitely worth playing.
This might be one that adds onto our list of history game of series.
Kingdom Hearts, History of Kingdom Hearts. That's a good.
Let's add that to our Trello board. Mm-hmm.
All right.
Alrighty. But okay.
We already talked a little bit about Grand Theft Auto, Liberty Cities, and Vice City Stories earlier, so I won't touch on those too much here. But they are on my list of favorites because they feel like console games on a handheld. And they did come out on PS2, so they technically are console games on a handheld.
Let's get technical.
Next, Ratchet and Clank. Size matters. The innuendo of all the Ratchet and Clank games is my favorite. And this is perfect for PSP. This is like a full Ratchet and Clank game for PSP. It also came out on PS2. It wasn't made by Insomniac. It was made by a company called High Impact Games. They also made, I believe they made the Daxter game. They made a game called Secret Agent Clank, which if you've played Ratchet and Clank, I think it's Ratchet and Clank Up Your Arsenal, when Clank, like there's a period of that game where Clank is off like making a TV show called Secret Agent Clank. And so you're playing as Clank.
This is so fun. It just seems really fun.
So you play those segments of Up Your Arsenal or like the Clank segments in other games. But Secret Agent Clank is basically a whole game of Clank segments. And it's really, really fun and funny and just like it's very satisfying. So both Size Matters and Secret Agent Clank got PS2 releases. I highly recommend playing them. They're so fun. In Secret Agent Clank, you get to play as Captain Quark a little bit too, who's like the superhero in that universe, but it's like pretty obvious that he's not really a superhero and he doesn't kind of quite know what he's doing, but he has like a big ego and he thinks he's great. So you play through his stories, but they're told from Captain Quark as if Captain Quark is telling these stories, so they're super exaggerated, like very fun, like random things will happen and be like, and then a dragon showed up, and like that'll just happen in the game. Like a dragon just pops up out of nowhere for no reason, and it's so fun.
That's very good. I like that. I like that a lot.
I highly recommend Secret Agent Clank. On the same lines here, I did say they made a fourth Jak and Daxter game. This was not made by Naughty Dog. It was made by High Impact, the same people that made Secret Agent Clank and Size Matters. This was called Jak and Daxter: The Lost Frontier. And it has much of the same gameplay stuff as Jak 2 and 3. You get the same kind of guns, lots of platforming. It got pretty good reviews. I remember it being fairly fun. I played the PS2 version of this game. It's worth playing if you like Jak and Daxter. Lost Frontier is a full Jak and Daxter game on your PSP. So play it. It's great.
Play it.
We're getting to the end of the list here, but I got one more Final Fantasy game to talk about, and that is Dissidia Final Fantasy, which is kind of like Final Fantasy Smash Bros., but it's in 3D with different fighting mechanics. So it's like they take Final Fantasy characters from every Final Fantasy game and they make them characters in this fighting game, and it has its own kind of storyline, and it got a couple of sequels and stuff that are worth checking out. But this is where that series started, was on PlayStation Portable. You could play online, you could play as all your favorite Final Fantasy heroes and villains, and you duke it out and fight and level up and have a good time. So,
can you play as a chocobo?
I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if that was like a bonus or like a secret character, you know?
Mm-hmm. That has to be a thing. That so many people would demand it.
Yeah, I can't remember if that was in there. But yeah, Dissidia is cool. And it's on, I think there's a PC version now of like the newer ones. Like it got some sequels. Like it's doing pretty well. So that's cool. I love Rock Band games. You love Rock Band games. We love plastic instruments, right? We love rhythm games. How would you like to play a Rock Band game without a plastic instrument? How would you like to unplug your plastic instrument?
Oh man, am I going to be on MTV if I play this game?
You might. Ooh. So on PlayStation Portable, we got a Rock Band game, and it was called Rock Band Unplugged. And it was unplugged because it was portable, so you didn't have to be plugged in anything. Haha. It also didn't have any plastic instruments to play. It was a rhythm game. Did we talk about frequency and amplitude when we talked about PS2 games? I can't remember. I don't think we did.
I don't think we did.
Harmonix made a couple of games before they made Rock Band called Frequency and Amplitude, and they were rhythm games, and they would play like some weird house trance music, and you would have to like hit buttons to the beat. Those games were awesome, super fun. They were sort of like, you could tell there was some inspiration taken from them when they went to Rock Band. But Rock Band Unplugged is basically the continuation of those games, because you play every instrument in Rock Band Unplugged. So you have different tracks that you're on for drums, for bass, for guitar, and for vocals. And so when you're in the drum track, you're playing stuff to the drum beat. And after you hit like a certain number in a row without missing, then the drum track will play by itself for a little while, and then you move on to the next track. And you try, basically what you're trying to do is have no track ever stop playing that isn't you playing that track. Which is really fun. So if you get really good, it's really like satisfying to have the whole song be playing and you play all the parts to it. It's like really, really cool. So Rock Band Unplugged is the PSP version of that. It came out on Xbox and PlayStation 3, only they called it Rock Band Blitz, and I think it had different songs probably, but it was the same kind of idea of this like no plastic instruments thing, but playing all of the instruments. It also had some DLC for the PlayStation Portable, which was pretty neat. Mostly a lot of the same songs that were in other Rock Band games, because those were the songs they had the rights to. But I highly, highly recommend Rock Band Unplugged. It is way more fun than Hand Cramp Hero on the DS.
Your hand thanks you. Always.
That's right. Say thank you for playing Unplugged instead. The last game on my list, we're getting there. Persona 3 Portable. I love Persona games. I love portable games. Persona 3 Portable is the best version of Persona 3. You can play as a female main character, which changes a lot of your options, specifically around romance options and stuff like that. So very fun way to play through the game a little bit differently. It's got some other quality of life things. In the original Persona 3, you only controlled the main character in fights, and everybody else was controlled by like an AI. In Persona 3 Portable, you could control your whole party, which is how everybody wants to play that game. It's the most annoying part of Persona 3 is when some dingus on your team is doing things that you would not have done, but you can't control them. So you can in Persona 3 Portable. So
that's crazy. So it's a Persona 3. It is the better version for the portable.
Oh, yeah. This is the way
like
to
we were
play.
saying before, it's like you think the portal version is the weaker one, when in reality, for older ports, it's better. It's way better.
Yep. So
well,
that's my list of PSP games. I probably missed some.
I'm sure we missed some, and I'm sure someone will email us, and that would be great. If you did, if you missed, if you're like, hey, Mike, Tyler, you missed my favorite PSP game, email us and tell us at codexhistorypodcast@gmail.com, or tweet at us at SneakerElf, ELPH for Tyler, or at mecoletta, MECOLETTA for me. We have some reviews and stuff. Do we want to do that before we do what you've been playing?
Sure.
Or do you want to do that? Okay, let me do some. I got a tweet and I got a review. So the tweet I'll do first. Dark Paul, he is on Twitter. Okay, he says, hey, on Codex, you talk about loving Advance Wars, which is awesome. You would definitely love Fire Emblem, since both are made by Intelligent Systems. Both are favorite games of mine, just saying. Well, Dark Paul, I'm actually going to go buy Fire Emblem Awakening on 3DS right now. So I should have a report on that in the next couple of weeks, because I plan on buying this game and taking it with me to Hawaii. Yeah, thank you for the recommendation. I hope this is an okay one to get. Fire Emblem Awakening. It seems like it's got great reviews. People really like it.
Yeah, I think that's the right one to get on 3DS.
Yeah, so I'm going to get this one, because obviously I can't get the older ones, because well, maybe I can get one if it's on Game Boy Advance. Maybe I'll do that later. I'm going to see how I like this one, though. Thank you for the recommendation, Paul. I'm just going to say Paul. I'm going to drop the
Dark Paul.
The Dark Paul.
Related to Dark Alex?
Maybe. I don't know. He's got a really... what's the picture? What's the picture look like? It looks like it's a picture of Darth Maul, is what I'm seeing there. So thank you for tweeting at us. We really appreciate it. And now we are up to 20 ratings and reviews, but we got a new review here that I'm going to read right now. It says, hey, friends. Isn't that nice? I feel pretty good, Tyler. We're friends.
It's so nice. We're friends.
We're friends with the listeners. Okay. Hey, guys. Really enjoying the podcast. Very fun to learn about all the big history going on behind the hype that we experience as kids. Good mix of fun and interesting. Your chum, TB, that's how they sign off of it, is TB.
Oh,
Now,
thanks,
the
TB.
name on the review is Arrogant Buttlord. So I don't know which one we should go with. But I'm going to say TB is good. I think we can say Arrogant Buttlord, though, on a clean podcast. That's fine. It's not a swear word. It's just really funny. So thank you for sending that review to us, and thank you for tweeting at me, Dark Paul. Really appreciate it. And now, Tyler, you said you've been reading a lot of comics, right? You don't have a new...
I actually, this past week, I've been taking a break from the video games. I haven't played any World of Final Fantasy. I've been just so immersed in my comics. So I've been reading the latest Secret Wars event from a couple of years ago in Marvel, and I'm going through the original Infinity Gauntlet story as well, which is very different from Infinity War and Endgame, but still fun to read and fun to read comics like from the 90s. So that's really what I've been spending my time to do. But this isn't a comics podcast. So Mike, what have you been playing?
So I have been playing 2 games. I work partially at indie video games, full disclosure, do PR marketing for them. Okay. And I get to look up a lot of games, and sometimes I work for people and sometimes I don't. But this game, I've been in really contact with the developer. They're really nice, so I wanted to talk to them. And then I bought their game. It's called Necken. It's in early access, Necken. It is a roguelite. So it's like, but it's really fun. Like, you're going through Swedish folklore. And in the end, you have to reach Necken, who is a creature known for drowning everyone who meets him. That's what it says in the description. But the cool part about it is, like, as you go through the forest, you can cut down trees and build more weapons, and then you can find chests that you can open with keys you craft. And it's just a really cool game, and it's very addictive. Like, I could see this being on a phone too. I know this whole podcast has been Mike loves phone games, I guess. I don't know why I keep saying it over and over again, but this game is it's super fun. It's really hard. Like, I think I've only made it to the second level, like the second world technically, I guess, you know. And it's like about 8 worlds, I think. So, but it's been really fun and I've been really enjoying it. And it's just something I would never normally, like, I don't normally play roguelike games, I guess is how I would describe it, with this kind of a challenge. But for some reason, I'm learning about Swedish folklore, and I'm playing this game, and it's really fun, and I'm enjoying myself. So that's all that matters. The other game I've been playing, though, is I told Tyler this, a Magic the Gathering tournament in real life last week.
Ooh.
Okay, and I was beaten by a 10-year-old named Hudson. That's beside the point. Okay, but he was very good at Magic cards. Good on you, Hudson. Shout out to Hudson out there, being all pro, elite Magic the Gathering player. But I started playing Magic the Gathering Arena, which is a free PC game that kind of has been teaching me how to play Magic better and is really fun. And for free to play, it doesn't seem like it's trying to swindle you, you know?
That's good.
Like, you can just play Magic, and as you play, you unlock cards as you go. So I've been playing that. And I actually, for buying and being in the pre-release event for that Magic the Gathering in real life tournament, they gave me a code for a draft in the game Magic Arena. So I did that. And I lost both games, but it was really fun. And I had a good time. And I'm really bad at the game, but I'm getting better, I think. And it's been fun. And it's just something fun I can turn on, like, hey, I want to play a game of Magic real quick when I get home from work. And then just play one game and then go do something else for a bit. So, and actually Necken is kind of like that too. Like, I really only play like 15 minutes at a time, and I like try it out and try to get as far as I can. And then I'm like, oh, I'll come back later. Like, it's little therapeutic, casual games that I've been playing lately. And I'm into it. And I really haven't been on Destiny at all. I went on there this week, and I was just like, I mean, until you and I get a group together to do Scourge of the Past, there's really nothing for us to... Well, there's stuff to do, but nothing I really want to do, I guess is how I would put it.
Yeah, and I think that's okay. It's all right to ebb and flow and play some other things or do something different. I'll be back when there's another big content drop for sure.
Definitely. And my favorite thing about the whole... I read the blog this week. They're this week at Bungie, and I like how they just own the fact that they kind of ruined competitive Crucible with the grenade spam. They're like, hey, if you don't like it, well, next week it'll be gone, so just wait a while. Like, I like that. So, yeah, just own it. That's the way to do it.
Yep.
So, we need to talk, Tyler, right now.
Oh, we do.
Yeah.
Right now on the podcast?
Right now on the podcast, we need to talk, because this is the last timeline episode. This was it. Maybe... we'll mention some PSP games next week if someone emails them to us. But what are we going to do now? You know? What's happening?
Who knows?
I think what we should do is, and this is definitely just us going off the cuff. We definitely didn't plan this before, 100%. Is next week we are going to do the history of Doom, right?
Yeah.
We're doing that. We're doing the history of Doom. And Tyler is kind of taking the lead on it. And then the next week, I'll take the lead on something. And it's probably going to be Pokemon, because I love Pokemon. Just the video games, though. I'm not going to talk about the cards. And as much as I want to, I'm not going to talk about the TV show that changed my childhood. I'm not going to talk about that. I really want to, but I can't. I rewatched it recently. It's on Netflix. Holds up. Still real great. But this coming week, Tyler will do Doom. The week after that, I am out of town for a wedding and I cannot record, and I apologize in advance, and I want to give this the right amount of research. So there will be an episode probably of us just gabbing. Does that sound good to you, Tyler? The little gab
That
episode?
sounds good to me.
Of us talking about video games?
Gab?
Maybe I'll find like a fun, that'll be a good thing. If you want to, I'll find some sort of fun hypothetical question we can answer. Some hypotheticals, some gaming hypotheticals, like ridiculous ones. And then if listeners want to send in their own hypothetical questions, like fun, stupid stuff, like not even stupid, but like what's your favorite video game weapon or something like that. You know, we can go through and answer that. Kind of like a mailbag thing, I guess.
Yeah.
But I'm going to create the mail if there's nothing in the bag. So I just throwing it out there.
Great.
And then after that, when we come back, I will do the history of Pokemon. And then from that point on, we should just be going every week with a new history of a game series or a history of maybe a genre or even something along the lines of like esports or, you know, local or online gaming in general. I don't know. The sky's the limit. It's all out there. So that's what we're doing.
Let's do it. History of Doom next week. I got you.
You got me? Awesome. We hit over an hour this episode, but we had a lot to talk. You know, for not ever playing the PSP and for you having your own favorite PSP games, we really hit it out of the park this week. This whole episode should be me tooting my own horn. That's what it is. Tyler, is there anything you want to plug before we go, or you want to just say bye to the listener?
No, that's it. I think I'm good.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.